The following is presented by the Cheeky Bastards.
Brace for impact, buckeroos, because your skulls are about to take a gargantuan blast of action-packed jackassery to the fucking ear holes. And audio exposure so mind-numbing extreme protective headwear should be mandatory to listen to this level of inane horseshit. So lock and load, buttercups, and prepare your tiny minds for your monthly assault of grade-A action movie mayhem, filled with enough high-octane carnage, insane shootouts, and nose-busting fisticuffs that Michael Bay himself would weep like the little product placement bitch that he is. Now duck and cover, my little cupcakes, because it's time for the Men of Action podcast, a show packed with enough testosterone-filled bravado it could take down a small nation. So here are your hosts, those cheeky bastards themselves. From America, it's the notorious Scott K, and from England, it's the cynical Mr. Smith. They may be secret meat, but you can bet your ass they're packing some serious fucking heat. Shit's about to get explosive.
Heidi-ho, you slack-jawed sons of bitches, and welcome to the Men of Action podcast. I'm the notorious Scott K.
And my name is Mr. Smith.
And we will be your cheeky, cantankerous, opinionated hosts on this monthly action-filled quest as we pit two kick-ass action movie sequels up against one another in a no-holds-barred battle to the death to not only see which one truly reigns supreme, but if either is actually worth being a fucking sequel in the first place. Now on tap for you this month is a Stallone action franchise sequel showdown as 1985's Rambo First Blood Part 2 squares off against 2012's The Expendables 2. But before Steve gets strapped to an electrified bed and I bitch slap Jean-Claude Van Damme with a metal chain, it is my pleasure to welcome in my cheeky co-host all the way from fucking England, Mr. Steve Smith.
Hello, Scott. How are you?
I am Stallone in a boning, you know what I mean? Over here. Over here. I realized that this is, I think he's the only guy we do this season where we pit two movies from the same guy again. But that's because I think I've come to the conclusion, and you may chime in if I'm right or wrong. None of them right, but anyways. Stallone is the king of the action franchises. He's got Rocky, he's got Rambo, and whether he should or shouldn't have had the Expendables, he also has the Expendables. He's got three fucking action franchises. No one else can say that. I mean, Schwarzenegger's just got the Terminator. Yeah, he was in Predator, but he's not in the sequels.
Well,
a lot of these action guys who show up, they don't have more than one. Bruce has got Die Hard. That's all he's got.
True.
I mean, Jean-Claude.
I was waiting patiently for the Hudson Hawk trilogy, but that never happened.
It was on its way. But you know what? Oh, wait a minute. I do digress. We haven't watched him yet, but maybe the Night,
I know where you're going.
Detective Night trilogy at the end of dropping a Bruce may enter in, but still, he would still be one shy as Stallone has three well-known action movie franchises. All hail King Stallone.
Well, it may be a case of quantity over quality, but
you might be able to make a case for that.
But I think we all, men of a certain age, grew up.
Yes.
We grew up with
Let's call
this
them
guy,
Gen Xers, and maybe even some of the boomers.
Yeah, so, there's a certain affection there, obviously, yeah. Obviously a very macho, sort of brotherly kind of, catch that bear's
a lot
game
of muscles, rock hard cock. Yeah, let's do it.
But yeah,
if you're not half or fully erect while watching these films, what are you? You a sissy?
But yeah, I guess, well, hang on a minute. Yeah. Hang on a minute, though.
Pause.
Isn't the Expendables a franchise, too?
That's what I'm saying. He's got three. Expendables, Rambo, Rocky.
Rambo. I thought there was I'm all over the place.
I mean, if he could, he would. If he could, he probably would.
The Stop All My Mum Will Shoot trilogy as well didn't happen. No, I thought
Tango and Cash almost was penned for 6, but they decided not to. They paused on Tango and Cash, just left it at 1.
But he's the man. He goes full tilt boogie, doesn't he? He goes all out.
All out. All out.
He can't stop ruining his movies, but...
This is true. And I'm learning, and we're going to get into it in a second after we do our recommendations, is this is just, for now, this is our 4th one of the season, I think? No, this is our 3rd episode of the season, yes. So far, for the first 3 episodes of the sequels, the movies we have picked are all like the highest grossing ones of their franchises so far. It's just completely just like purely coincidental. Like we are not that fucking dedicated
We're not that
to
clever.
knowing. Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. But let's start with our clever and not clever section, which is our monthly recommendations for you here on the Man of Action.
It's time for the Cheeky Bastards monthly movie or show recommendations.
Damn, Jimmy, this some serious gourmet shit.
And we start with Mr. Smith. What makes it into, over here in America, this is coming out 2 weeks prior to Thanksgiving. We won't talk about what else is happening in America at this point. It could actually be a scene from the Expendables. However, right now, we're going to get ready for Thanksgiving. What do you have to give us Americans some treats for our Thanksgiving feasts?
Well, as we record this, we are currently on the 27th of October, and I accepted a challenge.
Oh, boy.
And
from two hobos under a bridge.
Well, no, this was... This is part of that challenge, but I'll get into that later. Right, so 2 words are okay. They're going to make you shudder in more ways than one. This is a found footage movie. Okay.
Oh, fuck.
As Scott hangs his head.
We're back, folks. We thought we had him cold turkey, but guess what? Nope.
Well, this is a clever
just like
pun.
Stallone, he can't stop ruining his life.
Well, the shudder was a clever pun, but we'll get to that too. So this is a movie called Deadstream from 2022, written and directed by Joseph and Vanessa Winters. The film centers on Sean, a disgraced internet personality known for videos featuring and performing stunts to overcome his fears. Prior to the start of the film, one of Sean's videos resulted in a serious controversy that lost him his sponsors and much of his fan base. Desperate to regain his popularity and retain his new sole sponsor, Sean plans to live stream himself spending the night in Death Manor, a purportedly haunted house where several people have died. As part of the deal with the sponsor, if Sean leaves or doesn't fully explore the house, he forfeits the sponsorship. Using an assortment of tiny cameras mounted around the building and on top of his own head, as he creeps around the haunted location and after holding a seance, accidentally upsets a vengeful spirit, and his big comeback event becomes a real-time fight for his life. Now, I did see Deathstream when it was released, but I was reminded of it after I accepted a 31 Days of Halloween challenge on Instagram. So I've been rewatching some less familiar titles, and this movie kicks ass. It's like Blair Witch meets Sam Raimi, though whereas Ash rose to the challenge, our hapless douchebag Sean is reduced to a crying, screaming baby, unlikely to make it through the night. And where a lot of found footage movies break their own rules, this one cleverly covers his tracks. Because he's mounted the cameras all around the house, because usually, like, just fucking... In reality, you just throw that camera on the floor and run in the opposite direction. You know, why are you still filming? But because the cameras, they're not handheld cameras, they capture all the action. And also, he carries a cassette deck around with him because he's made his own soundtrack for the night. So you also get music, which I've actually seen before in found footage movies where I'm like, wait a minute, why have you added? Where is this music? Why you're trying to add tension to the film by adding music, but that breaks the rules. But whereas they've thought all this stuff through really well. I mean, I think the people who made this, Joseph and Vanessa Winters, they're a husband and wife team, and they wrote, directed, he stars in it, they edited it, he did the music. So it's a very small. I think it was made for. It's picked up by Shudder, so it's pretty easy to find. But yeah, so he's got this like John Carpenter-esque. He's got a John Carpenter-esque soundtrack playing throughout the film. So, anyway, it's got great jump scares, hilarious dialogue, and tons of great practical monster effects. Deadstream is a superior found footage spook fest, and certainly one of the best, I will actually say this, one of the best horror movies of the last 5 years.
Wow.
It is tons of fun. Everyone will fucking love it. You'll be laughing your asses off at this fucking loser. It's just a ton of fun, and I swear to God, you'll all love it. So that is definitely my recommendation this month. Deadstream.
This is certified Gourmet. Be sure to check out Steve's upcoming solo podcast called Hey Mom, Look What I Found. His journey through all the found footage films ever made, coming in 2025.
You might be onto something there.
I was thinking about it as I was sitting here. I'm not helping you out, but I'll give you the names. I'll do some of the
Without
graphics
you,
for
I'm
you.
nothing. Without you, I'm
Hey,
nothing.
Mom, look what I found.
I can't do this alone, man. I can't do this alone.
Well, I'm going to stay in the horror genre as well, but I'm going to be specially themed for my pick this month. As I said, it is November. And as you said, we are recording, I think, almost pretty close to exactly 1 month to when, about a month and a day from when Thanksgiving happens here. And my pick this month is from 2023. Thanksgiving. After a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts, the birthplace of the infamous holiday. Thanksgiving is a thrilling, darkly humorous horror film that delivers on the classic slasher formula with a fresh twist. Directed by Eli Roth, fan of the podcast. The movie combines traditional holiday themes with a relentless intensity, transforming the warm family holiday into a terrifying bloodbath. Roth keeps the audience on edge, blending suspense with moments of dark comedy that pay homage to classic slasher films, yet feel original and vibrant. The film's version of Plymouth, Mass. captures the quaintness of a small town with a sinister edge, amplifying the horror as each scene builds toward an unrelenting climax. Fans of Roth's work will appreciate his signature style, complete with unexpected twists and well-timed shocks. And there is plenty of gore to go around. Thanksgiving is both a love letter to classic horror and an exciting addition to the genre that will leave audiences eagerly anticipating the sequel to this modern entry into the holiday slasher genre.
This is certified gourmet.
And now we're going to talk about something that's not peak. It's it's somewhere between your asshole and your taint worthy.
This is some serious horse shit.
Horse shit.
Horse shit. Horse shit.
And this is horse shit.
Horse shit. Ah, horse shit.
For you here in the Thanksgiving season, we just gave you some treats that you should have with your dinner. And now this is what you're going to be feeling afterwards when you take that big watery dump later on in the day. These are the stuff that will come out of your bowel, so don't you put extra in it. This month, our pure horseshit recommendations start once again with Mr. Smith. What do you got for us for our friends to not watch and save themselves the gastrointestinal pain?
Well, here we go. From 2022, directed by Mauro Borelli. Hey, Borelli over here.
Oh, Maura, how you doing?
Yay, from the
How's your
neighborhood.
mother? How's your mother?
How's the family back east, huh? This is called War Hunt, and the war was just beginning. 1945, a U.S. military cargo plane loses control and violently crashes behind enemy lines in the middle of the German Black Forest. Black Forest.
I think that's where I come from, actually, believe it or not. So, my people, oh, Maura, what are you talking about over here, you bitch?
Major Johnson.
To ground control.
Major Johnson sends a squad of his bravest soldiers on a rescue mission to retrieve the top secret material the plane was carrying, led by Sergeants Brewer and Walsh. They soon discover hanged German Nazi soldiers. Not the other German soldiers, the Nazi ones.
The ones who were really hung. You know what I mean? Oh,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying over
hey.
Hanged German Nazi soldiers and other dead bodies bearing ancient magical symbols. Suddenly, their compasses fail, their perceptions twist, and straying from the group leads to profound horrors as they are attacked by a powerful supernatural force. Now, the film stars Mickey Rourke,
Oh, Mickey.
sporting an Elvis haircut and a gold-plated eye patch. Stop laughing, I'm not finished yet.
Beautiful.
And Robert Nepper, who you'll remember as the weaselly little fuck who got his hand cut off in Prison Break. And from what I can tell, just a bunch of TV fodder
People
actors and
who will probably see a little bit in Drop in the Bruce in a couple of weeks.
perhaps. Yeah, you know, just kind of, it doesn't really, it's a slow burn, and then when it delivers, it just doesn't deliver. Actually, you know, doesn't look too cheap.
That's on the cover of the box thing. Hey, doesn't look too cheap. that's the selling point of the movie.
Well, you know, compared to the Bruce Willis stuff we've been watching, you know,
Fair.
there were certain points where I thought, you know, if Bruce Willis was in this too, this could be this could be.
I mean, it may have been better. Him with a gold eye patch. I'd be up for that. I'd be up for that.
No, Bruce Willis and Mickey Rourke were in it. This would be up for a Brucey probably later on in the year. But yeah, it just fails on every level, really. You know, that's just not. It's not intense. It's not very dramatic. There's no gore, really, just a little bit. And it's just basically the supernatural forces, just a bunch of witches. So, just a bunch of ladies.
Bunch of fucking bitches with pointy heads.
Bunch
over
of
here
hooers
in
walking
Germany.
around
Whoa.
walking around the
Nazi
forest,
witches.
My favorite kind over here.
Oh, it's like, hey, is that guy hung? We gotta hang him. Sorry.
So yeah, it kind
We've
of
already
sucks,
made this
but
movie better than it was.
having
Don't listen
said
to what
that,
we're
yeah,
saying.
I'm going to watch it again after this, I think. Nah. But just to see Mickey Rourke, you know, with his golden
he's
eye
gonna
patch.
be dead soon. He looks like your aunt. Looks like an old aunt.
With his Elvis quiff and his golden eye patch. That's almost enough. But you know, you'll just be shaking your head a bit at the end, thinking, could have been, should have been, but wasn't.
This is certified horseshit.
Well, once again, we're in a kind of a lockstep here. We went with some horror entries for our C and to stay away from. We went with horror entries as well, as I have chosen from 2016, the movie called Cell. When a mysterious cell phone signal causes apocalyptic chaos, turning New Englanders into raging zombies, which they already are. But against all odds, an artist is determined to reunite with his young son in Maine. This runny turd is a cinematic disaster that manages to squander a promising premise and a stellar cast based on Stephen King's best-selling novel, Cell. The film centers around a mysterious signal that turns cell phone users into mindless killers. While the concept had potential, the movie's execution, which I am in favor of, is a complete and utter failure. The screenplay is riddled with cliches and predictable plot points. The dialogue is stilted and often laughable, and the pacing is uneven, with moments of jarringly slow exposition followed by frantic action scenes that lack any real tension. Special effects are cheap and unconvincing, and the creature design for the infected is downright laughable. The only saving grace is the acting, with John Cusack of Dropping a Bruce fame and Samuel L. Jackson delivering solid performances despite the poor material. However, even their talents cannot salvage this sinking shit barge. Supporting cast is largely forgettable with wooden performances that further detract from the film's overall quality. Cell is a prime example of a film that had potential, but was ultimately ruined by poor writing, direction, and execution, with the latter being something that I'm still in favor of. It is a tedious and forgettable experience that will likely leave viewers scratching their heads, as well as the actors for taking the job, and wondering how such a talented cast could have been involved in such a steaming pile of watery horse shit. I read the novel. I heard John Cusack was going to be in it. Samuel L. Jackson's going to be in it. You think, oh, but you should also know, whenever someone says, I'm adapting a Stephen King novel, more often than not, I think it's like a 90% rate, they fucking suck. They absolutely bastardize the fucking book. They butt fuck it between the pages, and you end up getting some like awful, watered down version of it.
This is certified horseshit.
So there you have it, folks. Put your eyes on Thanksgiving and Deadstream and stay the fuck away from Cell and War Hunt. And now it's time for us to light the fires and kick the motherfucking tires on our main event.
And now the moment you've all been waiting for, our Stallone sequel showdown main event. In the red corner is the 1985 American action film Rambo: First Blood Part 2. And in the blue corner is the 2012 American action film The Expendables 2. So get ready for a no-holds-barred, head-to-head collision of two Sylvester Stallone action sequel stalwarts. Two movies enter, only one movie leaves. It's time for the Men of Action movie Face Off.
Let's get ready to rumble!
As we've been doing this entire season, we are taking a look at some of the numbers behind each of the franchises represented here today. And up first is the Rambo franchise. To date, Rambo has 5 installments. Rambo was created by and is based on David Morrell's novel First Blood. First Blood came out in 1982. Rambo: First Blood Part 2 came out in 1985. Rambo 3 in 1988. Then we took 20 years off before we came out with Season 2 favorite, Rambo 4, just simply titled Rambo, in 2008. Stallone took 11 more years off and said, you know what, I'm not done yet, Steve. I'm not done yet for you. And he dropped Rambo Last Blood in 2019, much to Steve's chagrin. Now, this franchise has had a total of 5 directors to include Sylvester Stallone in its ranks. The Rambo films to date have been made on a total budget of only, surprisingly, $198 million, with a worldwide box office draw of $819 million. That was
pretty
impressive.
good.
I mean, of all the explosion shit that goes on in these movies, to be made on less than $200 million of film, that's pretty impressive. Rambo First Blood Part 2, which we'll be talking about in a few moments, is the highest grossing film of the franchise so far, with a $300.4 million box office return, while the original still holds the highest IMDb rating with a 7.7. Now, up next is the Expendables franchise. To date, the Expendables franchise has 4 installments. The Expendables was created by David Kellum. The Expendables came out in 2010. 2 years later, in 2012, we had the Expendables 2. 2 more years later, in 2014, we had the Expendables 3. We took a 10-year hiatus and brought out this year Expendables 4 in 2024. Whether we should have or shouldn't, we did it anyways, as is known in Stallone's lexicon of movies. Now, the franchise has had 4 directors, with Stallone once again being amongst them as well. The 4 Expendables movies have made on a total budget of $382 million, almost twice the amount that Rambo's have been made on, with 1 less film. And, however, though, the worldwide box office was surprising. It's actually outgained with 1 less movie, Rambo, with $855 million worldwide. The Expendables 2 is the highest grossing film of the franchise, with $314.9 million in box office returns, and also has the best IMDb rating with a 6.6. So there's our numbers behind the sequels. As we can see that Rambo may have, a little bit more critically acclaimed. But even its lowest, which was Rambo 3, the Expendables 4 has the lowest with a 4.8. Rambo 3 had a 5.8. Right behind that is the Rambo Last Blood with 6.1, which is what the Expendables 3 got. So the highest is 6.6, which just barely beats out First Blood Part 2. But Rambo got a 7, and First Blood's a 7.7. So as we said, we always thought Rambo, the 4th one, was the better of all the sequels, so which may also parlay into our conversation later, where there may be a little bit of I enjoyed what I did with my Rambo thing 4 years earlier. I'm going to bring it back 6 years later with some gunplay. We'll talk about it.
We'll see.
Up first in our showdown, in the red corner from 1985. Get into your time machines, kids, because it's Rambo First Blood Part 2.
It's time for the tale of the tape. Rambo First Blood Part 2 was released in 1985, written by Sylvester Stallone and James Cameron, and based on characters created by David Morrell, directed by George P. Cosmatos, starring Sylvester Stallone, Richard Crenna, Charles Napier, Stephen Burkoff, Julian Nixon, Martin Cove, and George Chang. Made on a budget of $25.5 million and grossing $300.4 million at the box office. It holds a 6.5 rating on IMDb with a 36 critics and 60 audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. On Letterboxd, Steve gives this 3 stars, while Scott also gives this 3 stars. Rambo returns to the jungles of Vietnam on a mission to infiltrate an enemy base camp and rescue the American POWs still held captive there. In TriStar Pictures, Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Joined Army 6 June 69. Accepted Special Forces. Helicopter and language qualified. Expert in light weapons and guerrilla warfare. Sylvester Stallone is back as Rambo. Rambo's the best combat vet I've ever seen. His mission, to locate American POWs in Vietnam.
Think you'll find someone? POWs? Doubtful.
His orders, not to engage the enemy.
He's got 36 hours to complete the mission and reach the extraction point.
We're going down! You're not going anywhere.
I'm telling you to abort. Double-crossed and left behind enemy lines.
You're the one who's making the mistake.
Yeah, what mistake?
Rambo.
And now, he's getting out any way he can. Rambo. What most people call hell, he calls home. No man, no law, no war can stop him. Sylvester Stallone is back as Rambo. First Blood, Part 2.
Mr. Smith, please impart upon our listeners the wisdoms, the infos, the trivias that you found out about Rambo. First Blood, not one. This is the second time we've drawn blood. Our second time of drawing First Blood. Go.
Okay, so Rambo, First Blood Part 2, directed by George P. Cosmatos and released in 1985. Now, the story treatment for First Blood Part 2 was written by Kenneth Jarr, who later co-wrote the screenplays for Glory, The Mummy, Navy SEALs, The Devil's Own, and Tombstone. He was actually chosen to direct Tombstone, but was fired a month into shooting. A certain James Cameron was hired to write the first draft of the screenplay, with the working title of First Blood 2, The Mission, which he was working on at the same time as his scripts for The Terminator and Aliens. Kenneth Jarr would defensively say that almost nothing of his original screenplay ended up in the final script, while Cameron would comment that he only wrote the action and that Stallone wrote the politics. Though in 2006, Stallone recalled, "I think that James Cameron is a brilliant talent, but I thought the politics were important, such as the right-wing stance coming from Troutman and his nemesis Murdoch, contrasted by Rambo's obvious neutrality, which I believe is explained in Rambo's final speech." Now, I realise his speech at the end may have caused millions of viewers to burst veins in their eyeballs by rolling them excessively, but the sentiment stated was conveyed to me by many veterans. Also, in his original draft, it took nearly 40 pages to have any action initiated, and Rambo was partnered with a techie sidekick. It was more than just politics that were put into the script, and there was also a simpler storyline. If James Cameron says anything more than that, then he's now doing the bad backstroke badly in a pool of lies.
Get him, Sly. I don't fucking think no shit.
Over here, Adrian. Anyway, as previously mentioned, producers wanted Rambo to have a partner for the POW rescue mission. Top choice was John Travolta, but Stallone vetoed the idea. Lee Marvin was offered the role of Marshall Murdoch. He declined and the role went to Charles Napier. During filming, special effects artist Clifford P. Wenger Jr. was accidentally killed during one of the film's waterfall explosions, losing his footing and falling to his death. Now, with a lot of stuff made in the 80s, this seems like actually a pretty standard, but not much behind the scenes, no dramas, which is weird because George P. Cosmatos and Stallone, I think they had their fallings out, which we discussed in
Cobra.
The Cobra. But apparently this was the beginnings of their relationship, so not too many problems. But as you stated earlier, Rambo First Blood 2 opened in the United States on May the 22nd, 1985, in a then record-breaking 2,074 theatres, becoming the first film to be released in over 2,000 theatres in the United States, and it was the number one film that weekend, grossing $20 million. Overall, the film grossed $150 million in the US and Canada, and $150 million internationally, for a worldwide total of $300 million. Rambo 2 was the highest grossing film to win the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Picture, until surpassed by Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen.
Michael Bay over
here.
You, sir, are a horseshit artist.
We've got some good reviews, though. Vincent Canby of the New York Times called the film almost as opportunistic as the congressman it pretends to abhor. In spite of everything it says, it's much less interested in the MIA question than it is in finding a topical frame for the kind of action-adventure film in which Mr. Stallone, his torso and his vacant stare can do what his fans like best. That is, fight, outwit, and kill, usually all by himself, dozens of far better armed but lesser mortals. Pauline Kael commented in The New Yorker, the director, George P. Cosmatos, gives his near-psychotic material a mixture of Catholic iconography and soldier of fortune pulp, a veneer of professionalism, but the looniness is always there. Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune gave the film 3 stars out of 4 and called it very good at what it does. But what it does isn't always that good. Referring to the depiction of the enemy as going back to the image of the yellow peril, to the notion that white is right and other colors are wrong. And Paul Atanasio of the Washington Post wrote, at best, Rambo First Blood Part 2 is a crudely effective right-wing rabble-rouser, the artistic equivalent of a carpet bombing. You don't know whether to cheer or run for cover. At worst, it's a tribute to Sylvester Stallone, by Sylvester Stallone, and starring Sylvester Stallone. So there we have it. Rambo
First Blood Part 2. Now, before we jump, I just got to say, it is the dumbest name for a movie ever. They should have just gone Rambo 2. First Blood Part 2. Please do inject.
No, there was one thing I forgot to mention. It was one of the earlier draft titles was Second Blood.
I would have made more sense, right? Rambo, Second Blood. Like, it made more sense. Like, First Blood, Part 2. Then it's technically not First Blood anymore, is it? Over you.
What are you going to do?
I feel like James Cameron was like, look, I got 2 great ideas, and I'll help you out with this other one. He's like, I got this Terminator thing. That's going to be a winner. Got this Alien sequel. That's going to be a fucking good winner. And they're like, you know what? You want to shoot some Asians and some mud pies? Fine, I got a little something here, though. I'll throw you a little bone, Stallone. Of the 3 films he was writing, this one definitely, he's short-sighted on them. I do love the beginning of the film. I love him breaking rocks. Like, it feels like, now we talked about it when we talked about Rambo 4, how like this is completely, like they really move away from the Rambo character we get in the first movie. But it starts with almost the same Rambo character we got in the first movie for a while. Like, it really does for a while. Silent killer, kind of just goes through the motions. He's out breaking rock, and then all of a sudden he's got a chance to, redeem himself, and you're like, all right, let's see what happens. Even when he gets there, immediately he's gonna get fucked. Like, I know he got fucked in the movie, but you don't have to, it's not like you need a crystal ball to see where this is going. Like, you can tell those guys are fucking shiesty. Whenever they show the guy from fucking, I think he left this movie and became the head of the dojo in California, in Cobra Kai.
Cove, yeah.
Martin Cove. Whenever Martin Cove's in a movie, you go, this fucking cocksucker's he's betraying somebody. Martin Cove just has that face. Most women are probably like, he might be attractive. He's definitely gonna cheat on me. He's just got that like untrustworthy face. It's like he's the uncle. You're like, nah, don't let him around the kids. They're all gonna be doing cocaine. We'll have strippers when we come back home when he's watching them. We can't let Martin around. So,
well, Charles Napier as well. He's got that kind of face too. You just know.
One of the most punchable faces of the 1980s, right? Like, I'm sure he got punched many times. He came on set, they just punched him. They had to have bodyguards so that people would stop punching his face.
But as you said, it starts off. You're in. You want in, I mean, I can remember when this came out, and I was too young to see it in theaters, because our certificate system is different to yours. But it was one of those films. I can't see it. I think my dad got hold of a pirate video of it. Like, someone had shot it in the theater, probably.
Jesus, back then it was like a giant handy cam. Holy shit.
Yeah. So, or somehow but it was ropey as hell, and you just could not really make out what was going on, which is actually a beautifully shot movie. I'll give it that.
Oh, yes. It looks great. 100%.
It does look great.
I've got the 4K version. It looks, the 4K is beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was one of those movies that I kind of had to wait for. But yeah, Stallone is, at this point, is just at the top of his game, really. He's the most bankable star in the world as well. He spent I think I read he spent like 8 or 9 months getting in shape for this. And he is granite in this. He is.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, you got to hand it to him,
Oh,
so.
yes. And they make sure that every vein and muscle is tense whenever he's holding something.
And well oiled.
In these 2 films, whenever they do a close-up, his close-ups start off in his arms. Like, it's almost like most actors are like, these are the goods. The face, get the face. Stallone's like, you stay below the neck and above the waist. I don't work on these fucking guns for nothing. You show the gun show, goddammit. These are NRA approved.
And we've got Troutman's back. you know,
Yeah,
Richard Crenna,
of course. He's great. He's the only real actor in the film. If we're going to be honest, he's the only real actor in the film. Yeah, he's great. He's phenomenal. When he's not in them anymore, it's kind of disappointing. You're kind of,
Yeah, but we do get a lot of him in Rambo 3, and
unfortunately.
the less said about that, the better.
That's what actually led to his death. No one knows that for sure, but well, it's definitely one of the conspiracy theories out there that Sharpman was murdered because of his involvement in 88's awful sequel to this. So this is where Rambo becomes famous in America. First Blood is not where he becomes famous. It's this movie, and you've got the little poster behind you, but in the poster behind you, I think he's got, which is absolutely impossible, but he's got an M60 machine gun, and in the barrel is a rocket from a grenade launcher. If that doesn't say to you, fucking USA, the only thing he doesn't have is eagles flying over his back. Like, it is the ultimate he one-arm fires an M60, which is virtually impossible. That gun kicks like two mules on crack. But he does that, and he's got the bow with the explosive tips. I mean, he's doing all the things, and they try to recreate the woods scene from the original Rambo. And look, when you're a kid, I want to preface this before I take a little bit of shit on him. I want to preface. When you're a kid, this is the greatest fucking thing you've ever seen. Absolutely. You don't care about what makes sense. You don't care why that doesn't seem to happen like that. You're just like, fuck yeah, I want to do the same fucking thing. But that being said, as an adult and in the former military person, there are scenes when he's killing the Russians as they're trying to hunt him down that make no sense. They're basically him playing an elaborate game of hide and seek. And at one point, he covers himself in basically the Predator-style mud that we would get 2 years later that obviously Schwarzenegger must have copied, but did use better. But Stallone has made himself into a mud wall with his eyes closed. A guy walks up and he opens his eye and he gets him and stabs him. Next thing we see him, his hair is completely clean. He's completely washed off. Not a trace of mud anywhere.
Let's be honest, though. That's cool as fuck.
It was cool as fuck, but in reality, it makes no sense. He's doing all these elaborate kills.
But when I watched it again, I almost thought that was like a slasher movie a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, it was awesome. Don't get me wrong. It's an amazing image.
No, I know exactly.
But in the real context, you're kind of like, wait, but why? What did you have the time to mud yourself up while being chased by 50 men? He's just like, I got time to mud bathe.
Yeah.
I just did a visual gag for you folks. Hope
that
you
was
enjoyed it.
That was great, guys.
It was a great gag.
But yeah, it was almost like a slasher movie where he's just like in the background and he just lunges forward and takes people out. And I've seen this film so many times, and it's a comfort movie, right?
And they move by so quickly. I was watching Expendables last night. My wife's like, "It's over already." I'm like, "That's the great thing about action movies.
That is
90 to 100 minutes. You're in and you're out. Like, we don't waste a lot of time with like worrying about if anything makes sense. We're like, this is what we're fucking doing. This is the mission. Suck a dick if you don't like it."
This is where action movies kind of trump horror movies. In a way, is that there is the possibility of some good kills in a slasher movie, but oftentimes you have to wait like half an hour.
But in a Rambo
40
movie,
minutes.
you're going to really get
Yeah.
And in a Stallone movie, you're going to get, except for which we said about Cobra, we could have some better kills. But in most Stallone movies, especially if he's written them, someone's getting brutally killed, especially after the First Blood. Like First Blood, he was like really trying to pay more of respect to how Vietnam vets have been treated. He really wanted to bring more of that to the story. I thought he did a great job with that. But then he started to slide more towards the buck after that. Like he was kind of like, I kind of like this brutal killing thing. Rambo 4, he said, what? I really like brutal killing thing. Listen to that episode from season 2. But this is a cover movie. This is where I became a fan of Rambo. It's one of the most iconic scenes when he walks back from the mission and he just shoots up all the television, the monitors, everything with the fucking M60 just going nuts. He pops up on the ridge and blows up the one Vietnamese guy with the explosive arrow. And the explosion is like he got hit with an A-bomb. It was like that thing, he blew up like into shattering pieces. Unbelievable. Yeah. Which is why I'm so surprised that they made all these movies on under $200 million total.
Well, he's the only person in the movie, isn't he?
No, but I'm saying with the special effects, they don't cheap out in the explosions. These are back in the day.
No, I just mean they don't have to spend any money on actors. It's just him.
This is true. Yeah, it's so Richard Crenna in the first part and a couple other scenes.
Yeah, maybe, but after that, you got Brian Dennehy and Richard Crenna in the first one, but as time goes on, you get less and less people in them.
It's
just
all
him.
about Stallone, which is why when we talk about the Expendables, it's crazy to see him with so many more people. You're kind of
exactly,
like,
we're not used to that, which kind of made it intriguing, but we'll get to that, like you say. But yeah, I think as time went on, it's just like, well, I mean, you got Stephen Burkoff, but like in this,
it was also Burkoff to jerk off over here.
Jerk off the fucking guy over here. No, he was the villain in Beverly Hills Cop.
He's a great Russian villain, and his non-speaking, almost Schwarzenegger type Russian guy. I mean, we get to see Stallone get tortured, which is, again, it sounds perverse, but it was kind of cool. I forgot about the whole electric bed. There's a lot of great moments in this. It's a fun movie. You know, and kind of he does have a little political side
As we
about
kind
how
of
people
alluded
don't
to,
really care
it's
about
kind
the
of
Vietnam
a kids
vets.
movie, though, right?
It shouldn't be a kids movie, but if you're from the 80s, it was a fucking kids movie.
Yeah, but this is what we would. This is where we were. This was, you know, sit down with the old man and watch a fucking Rambo movie.
Rambo 2, Predator, you got like RoboCop. They just kept coming out like this amazing
But
movie.
not to tangent too much. But you know, I grew up obviously. Being British, I grew up watching James Bond movies. Kind of movie you'd sit down with your dad and watch, and he's fucking his way around the planet.
Exactly. And every now and again he'll shoot somebody.
Yeah, and you know, and killing people and blowing things up, and you're just like, that's how we came up.
It's how it is, right? Hey, every day.
That's how you deal with these motherfuckers.
Listen, ladies, if you're listening, which I absolutely appreciate, because I understand this does feel like a very macho male-centered show, and it is. I mean, I get it. But you were sold Cinderella and Prince Charming coming to your rescue. Well, Prince Charming, this is the guy. This is the real prince. He had to kill a lot of fucking people who were not the same color as him, because goddamn it, that's the American way, and that's the only way we're gonna get to you. However, as we're gonna find out, there's two things that are simpatico from these two movies today. First being, each movie had a death on set, which we'll get to when we get to Expendables, and each movie decided to, for unknown reasons, throw in an Asian female as a possible love interest that does not need to happen at all. And not once in either movie did I feel like suddenly we were in love. And that is the one part of this movie that I had not remembered. And look, I'll be honest. When I was 12 years old and I saw this, I was like, yeah, get that cool Rambo. You get her, you pound her vag, and you kill these cocksuckers. Go, Rambo. But as I watch it as an adult, I'm like, wait a minute. You're over there to free your former POWs who you feel have been left behind rightfully, that the country doesn't care, the government doesn't give a shit about, and these guys who volunteered to fight in a bullshit war, or actually were drafted, even worse, in a bullshit war, are left behind, and because some coup saves your life one moment, you're like, fuck it, let's leave this country, we're out of here, we're gonna go back to America, fuck these guys, and hey, sucks to suck, I'm gonna go over there, speaking of suck to suck, hey, I want you to blow me on the plane ride home, it's all it's gonna be, and thankfully, Cosmato said, hey, let's pause here, we're gonna shoot this bitch as soon as you say you're going to leave with her, which I appreciated. Why would Rambo throw it all away for a woman he barely knows, who he shared a kiss with for 2 seconds, and he's like, I'm going to forget the mission, forget all my friends, all these people I've left behind. I'm just going to fly back to you, and we're gonna raise little babies, little Rambos.
Well, we've all
back
had
in
nights
America.
like that, surely. You know,
we were all willing to give away our principles and our moral foundations for a woman.
You know, if you're doped up enough and shit-faced, the closest pick to you, you know.
And that did put the brakes on. As an adult, that puts the fucking brakes on this film. Like, you're just kind of like, okay, look, I'll go with the whole dressing up in the mud. You know what? I'll buy into it. I'll suspend belief for all this. But the whole point of this movie, the whole reason you're on this mission is to save these guys. And now you're mad that the guys back there don't want to save them, but you're willing to give up on them too for some coups? Like, Rambo, what are we mad about here? You're on the same team. What are we mad about? The guy doesn't give a shit.
You know, let's be honest. He's probably he's been on bread and water for quite a while. This guy, so he's
bread, water, and man ass. You know what I mean? Oh, hey, Rambo does the fucking. All right, you know this. No one's fucking Rambo. Rambo does the fucking in prison. All right, he's not just pounding rock. All right, my friend. Sorry. This has gone off the rails. I apologize. It's too early in the morning.
Edit that out. But anyway,
that's leading this fucking episode off. You best.
But great action sequences. Yeah, beautiful looking movie. Rambo getting his dick waxed. You know, it's all happening.
That's in the subtext.
He turns into fucking Jason Voorhees 1 minute. He's fucking Don Juan the next. This all going off.
Down one way, honey. Boom, over here. I enjoy Asian food. Let's do this. And then she's like, okay. Bang. I love that she did get killed instantly. Then the one thing Stallone is not good at, he was never really good outside of Rocky, the first Rocky, and some of the Rockies. His face is not expressive when it comes to sadness. Anger, death stare, he and Clint Eastwood, kings of this. But emoting like anything outside of like machoism is machismo is hard.
He's got them. He looks sad anyway because he's got them droopy eyes.
But I know, but you know when he tries to look sad, you kind of go, you look like he's acting like he's trying to be sad. Like it's the worst possible face you can make, and you're just kind of like, I don't believe that you're sad about this woman getting killed. I would have believed that you're upset that you were about to bang her over there in the bushes once you cross this river. Again, I get it. I mean, I feel upset too, but I'm not buying that you suddenly are upset that you lost her to the travesties of war. But I do love that in this movie, we skirt past the Vietnamese. The Vietnamese are not the enemy. Steve, would you like to tell our listeners who is the enemy really in Rambo too, besides our bureaucratics in USA, but who's the real villains that we're fighting?
The Russians.
The goddamn Russians. They're going to sneak into the country. They're going to get us. We got to continue to beat the Russians. We got to fight them in Rocky IV. We're going to fight them in Rambo. When you're a kid in America, you don't realize how much propaganda is really sold to you. Even in your movies, you just think, this is cool. But the Russians for the 1980s have been our enemy for forever. The Russians. It's all it ever was. Like, when you look back at it now, you're like, why the Russian? Like, none of it made sense. Like, even the POW camp, you're just kind of like, oh, they every year they move around and they redo some kind of, I don't know, whatever. They're helping with crops. But then the Russians are there, and you're kind of like, well, what do the Russians and Vietnamese crops have to do with each other? Why are they here? It makes no sense. But we did get to use their really cool Russian fucking helicopter with the...
That's why they're there.
Yes.
So we get...
And then the great faked helicopter crash, apparently. Stallone is so good at flying a helicopter, he can fake a crash, land it in the water, fake to be dead, and then kill them. 1980s, baby. 1980s.
Anything can happen.
You never know.
In the 80s.
Honestly, weren't you sold that in the 80s? Did you really believe that? Like, I think we really did actually drink this Kool-Aid from these movies. Like, there's nothing I didn't believe. I was like, no, that could happen. You could totally do this. Like, I'm just gonna fake.
I didn't think that was that. I thought that was completely plausible.
Yes, when I was at war, I tried that. It's like, so Commander, wait, whoa. Well, Rambo would do. Here's how Rambo.
It's all your fault, isn't it?
We're gonna lay right here, pretend we're dead, and at the right moment, he's gonna pause, gonna give us a second, we'll pop up, we're gonna kill him. That's what's gonna happen.
And that's why Scott's no longer in the military.
That's why I'm no longer in the military.
Because he downed a $150 million fucking black hole.
Commander, we gotta land this jet in the water. Come on, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, excuse didn't pass, did it? Like, no, I just watched First Blood Part 2, and I was just trying to do that maneuver.
I know we're being chased, but we gotta stop quickly and cover ourselves in sand. It's gonna work. I saw Rambo do it. It's gonna work, goddamn it. Here we go.
A lot of questions being answered in this episode.
But another cool thing, I don't know if anyone knows this, but in the 1980s, those of you listening are probably fans, you're probably Gen Xers. You probably love the fucking goddamn 80s action films. That's why you listen to this fucking show.
Yeah.
But one of the great things about the 80s is tough men also have feelings, and we would have real emotional songs from famous people.
Oh, yeah, I know where this is going.
But what if you have a brother who may not be as famous, but you want his career to keep going? Will you let him fucking write and sing the motherfucking closing credits as you walk off to Vietnam with nowhere to go? You don't know where you're going. You're going to go to Afghanistan. You don't know that yet, but that's what you're headed. Who's going to sing you there? Fucking Frank Stallone's going to sing you there. That who's the fuck's going to sing you there, you piece of shit?
I will say, he's not a bad singer.
Not a bad singer at all. Shit song, but not a bad singer. I mean, look, people have good voices but can sing a shit song. That happens.
Okay.
They all have the same sound.
There were a lot of shit songs in the 80s.
A lot of them. But in these movies, there's always this one.
Frank Stallone does a great job with a terrible song. I mean, the song in the original First Blood was great, though.
Yeah.
It's a long road when you're on your own.
Like I told you, men have to. We have to have this dirge, this deep song. We have emotions too. We just don't want to show them, ladies. I want to fire an M60, but really inside, I just want to cuddle a kitten. And how am I going to tell you this? By slowly staring off into the distance while I ride a motorcycle and you sing.
You should have had Barry White singing.
They're just kidding around. You got to know when to hold them.
Not a bad idea, actually. But anyway, yeah, so you get old Frankie Stallone.
Frankie, I'm almost Sinatra Stallone over here.
My boss over here. So we get the terrible
Stallone
song
brothers,
at the end.
they tag team in this bad boy.
But at least the songs at the end, you know.
Yes.
So there's not like a montage in the middle.
Frank was like, I get to do the opening themes. Like, whoa,
wait a minute.
Put a pause in that, Frankie. Or
Frankie.
Look, your song is better suited as I quietly, emotionally walk off into the sunset. All right? So
as the audience does as well.
As the audience. But aren't they going to get up and leave? No, trust me. I'll walk at least a third of the song. How's that? I'll walk a third of the song for you? Is that good, Frank?
But Frank, he does a pretty good job with some of the Rat Pack sort of stuff.
Oh, he's great.
Frank Sinatra stuff.
I just think I feel bad for Frank.
I reckon even Frank was like, I got to sing this shit, you know.
But you know, hey, give Sly some credit. He brought his brother along. He didn't have to. His brother was there for him. If you watch the documentary, they went through some fucking shit together as kids.
Oh yeah,
they had a fucking tough lifestyle. Like so,
not a great.
I can understand, and I can understand why he's unable to express emotion. I saw a thing with his daughters the other day. He was on their podcast, and touch and love was never a thing. He didn't like being touched most of his life, even if it was in like a positive way. He didn't know it, didn't know what it was. So you can see why it's hard for him to express some emotions in these films because he's never been given that. He's never seen that.
That'd
in
be
real
some
life.
top-class acting on his part,
basically,
we know he's not capable of anyway.
All right, I think we've talked enough about. I mean, Rambo 2. If you haven't seen Rambo 2, and you're a Gen Xer, go fuck yourself. You're not a Gen Xer, man. You're not. You're a piece of shit. What are you talking about? You didn't see
Turn your
Rambo
computer
2?
off and go fuck yourself.
Don't you dare lie to us, especially if you grew up in the 80s. Don't you bullshit us and tell me you saw First Blood first. You saw First Blood after Rambo 2. You know you did. And if you're honest with yourself as a kid, you were disappointed because Rambo 2 was selling you a whole lot of goods that Rambo 1 did not. Now, we both agree, Steve and I, that Rambo, as we got older, the original's the better film. Tells a much better story. Really good film. But come on. When you're a kid, you're telling me if someone said, hey, let's watch Rambo, you say, no, fuck you. We're watching Rambo 2. All right? You're watching Rambo 2. Don't you lie to us, you bastards, all right? Don't you do that. All right. Mr. Smith, is Rambo First Blood Part 2 worthy of being a sequel, in your opinion?
Absolutely.
I concur.
I think, as you've just really said in a nutshell, is First Blood and Rambo 2 are worlds apart, though. But this is the beginnings. I mean, this is the beginning of the franchise.
Yeah, agreed. This is where people really lock into the franchise.
I mean, now we would want a sequel to First Blood, I think.
Yes.
This isn't a sequel to First Blood.
No.
Do you know
the first
what I mean?
2 minutes are. The first 2 minutes at Breaking the Rocks is.
Yes.
After that, we go off on, we
I
now
think
become
that's
Rambo.
but then that's probably what blew people's minds.
Agreed, 100%.
You know,
100%. If we don't get this movie, we don't get our favorite Rambo 4.
Exactly.
And I love me some Rambo 4.
So it's needed, but it's not a sequel to First Blood, really.
No.
It's the beginnings of some completely new type of action movie, really.
Yes.
But you can joke about Stallone. You know, he jokes about himself. He's got a good self-depreciating sense of humor. He's a great guy. You can tell.
100%.
Egotistical, but who wouldn't be?
You can't rise to that level and not be.
I mean,
It's
I'm
impossible.
egotistical and I'm a fucking lowlife.
Exactly. We're pieces of shit, and this guy's one of the greatest people to ever walk the earth in the 80s.
But, but he's well deserved, But yeah, so this is the beginnings of a franchise with as many lows as highs, and that's what always makes it iffy. And I think a lot of people, if they look back at First Blood, they're probably quite surprised at what a great movie that is. Because
Agreed.
they've been fed a lot of bullshit Rambo-type movies, as well as Rambo movies.
Yeah.
Some Rambo movies are bullshit. The films that influence a lot of those are bullshit
Agreed.
too.
Like we talked about on my church. We talked about Pulp Fiction and everything that it begat.
Exactly.
And same with
It's the
Rambo.
same
Rambo
deal.
begat the 80s actioners after this.
So that I'm sure it's probably a big surprise to a lot of people when a lot of people may have only seen First Blood back in the day, but you watch it now.
Oh yeah, when you're older with more mature eyes, it's an amazing story.
You come at it from a different perspective, and you think this is actually a classic cinema. This is
like you said, it's got a slasher feel when he's in the woods. Like it's a slasher
he's
woods feel in the first movie.
Yeah, exactly. So but anyway, definitely a worthy sequel, and it's also the beginning of something huge.
So we both agree that it is worthy. Now, where do you rank this in the franchise? I have a feeling we have the same ranking, possibly?
Probably. So I'll go through all of them.
Oh, okay.
First Blood, number 1.
Yep.
Rambo 4,
number 2.
Second.
Yep.
First Blood 2, third.
Yep.
Rambo 3, 4.
Which is, I know, hard to say, and then,
and
Rambo,
Last
Blood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason that Rambo 4, also known as just Rambo, jumps it is, as we talked about it in the episode, the violence in that is just through the fucking
insane.
It's just up the ante of what action. I mean, he said, "Fuck it, I want to top what I did."
When did you say that came out? 2008.
2008. Yeah,
hasn't been topped, has it?
No, and not in my opinion, not even close. Not even close. Yeah.
No.
All right, so there you have it. We both agree it's a sequel that's worthy, and it comes in number 3 within the franchise. That means up next in the blue fucking corner from 2012, Stallone's third action franchise, The Expendables 2.
It's time for the tale of the tape. The Expendables 2 was released in 2012, written by Sylvester Stallone and Richard Wink, based on characters created by David Callahan, and directed by Simon West, starring Sylvester Stallone, Jason Statham, Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren, Chuck Norris, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terry Crews, Randy Couture, Liam Hemsworth, Scott Adkins, and Yunnan. Made on a budget of $100 million and grossing $315 million at the box office. It holds a 6.6 rating on IMDb, with a 67 critics and 67 audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. On Letterboxd, Steve gives this 3 stars, while Scott gives this 2.5 stars. Mr. Church reunites the Expendables for what should be an easy paycheck, but when one of their men is murdered on the job, their quest for revenge puts them deep in enemy territory and up against an unexpected threat. In Lionsgate's films, The Expendables 2.
Unloaded?
Somebody's hooked.
And I pronounce you man a knife.
You and your little psychotic gang of mutts. Today is payback. 6 months of pure plutonium is powerful enough to change the balance of the world. Imagine what 5 tons would do.
You're gonna need more men if you expect to get out of here alive.
I'm back. You can't let the contents of that safe fall into the wrong hands.
What's the plan?
Track them, find them, kill them.
Here we go!
How did you do that? Lucky me.
Get in!
That shoe is bigger than this car.
Shoot something! You're not doing what I think you're doing.
Yeah, I am.
You're gonna need a new plane.
Now it is my turn to impart upon you some behind-the-scenes trivia about this film, and I have more than Mr. Smith did, because this movie had some things that happened in it. In this film, this is the first time in 10 years that Stallone was a lead actor in a film that he did not direct. The only other previous time was Academy Award-winning Avenging Angelo in 2002. I made that part up. I never even heard that fucking film. Chuck Norris agreed to come out of retirement from acting at the age of 71, which means he's now 83, in order to appear in this film. Stallone asked Chuck to include a reference to the Chuck Norris facts, a popular internet meme, in the screenplay. Norris's wife, Gina O'Kelly, suggested him the one with the cobra, in which it says, Chuck Norris was bitten by a cobra, and after 5 days of excruciating pain, the cobra died. The only problem with it in the film is Chuck Norris is not really good at delivering those kinds of lines, and it does kind of fall a little flat, especially if you don't know what he's talking about.
He's not good at delivering any line ever.
He's just good at looking cool and shooting guns. That's basically what Chuck does. Now, Chuck Norris, as I said, is the pop culture subject of countless larger-than-life Chuck Norris facts created by fans. Now, the film's cast and crew jumped on the bandwagon when Norris arrived in Bulgaria, coining a new one. Chuck Norris doesn't visit Bulgaria. Bulgaria visits Chuck Norris. Speaking of Bulgaria, Bulgarian environmentalists stated that the bat population in the cave had been reduced by up to 75% from about 30,000 in 2010 to 8,000 in 2011. Nikolai Simov of the Center for Bat Studies and Protection at the Bulgarian Academy of Science blamed the Expendables 2 production for the reduction. So apparently, over in Bulgaria, their bats are not expendable. Sorry. That joke inserted. This is the wildest one. And the one thing I hate about some of these facts is it doesn't give you any other context of why. It just gives you a fact and it walks away from it. It's almost like someone walks into a room and says, hey, and you don't get a chance to ask them a question. They just walk away. You never see them again. Production was temporarily shut down due to a series of bird attacks that greatly disturbed the cast and crew. Ornithologists were brought onto location to negotiate terms with the bird community to cease these attacks. Once a sense of peace was restored, production resumed. That's all they gave you, folks. That's it. Do with it as you will. I don't know what it fucking was, but it was a great fucking little
I don't even care if that's not true.
Know. I feel like the bat should have been the attacking. I don't know. The film reveals that Gunnar Jensen earned an advanced degree in chemical engineering, then abandoned his science career to work as a bouncer in order to impress a girl. Dolph Lundgren, who portrays the character, earned a chemistry degree from Washington State University in 1976, a chemical engineering degree from the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm in the early 80s, and a master's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Sydney in 1982. Lundgren walked away from a science career to work as a bodyguard for his then-girlfriend, Grace Jones. While stuck in the mine, Gunnar refers to himself as a Fulbright scholar, which Lundgren, in fact, achieved in real life. Lundgren is maybe one of the smartest, most genius-type people on set. However, it is that Swedish accent that we... Like, if Schwarzenegger was, like, the same, we'd be like, nah. It's just the accent that throws Americans off from it, and any English-speaking language. But Dolph is actually that brilliant. After the team kills a lone remaining gunman during the fight with the Sangs, Stallone says, rest in pieces, because this fucking film was chock full of fucking just one-liners for no apparent reason. However, this is a reference to Dolph Lundgren's line in the sci-fi movie Dark Angel from 1990, where at the end the villain says, I come in peace, and after blowing him away, Lundgren remarks, but you go in pieces, bitch.
Oh.
Over here. This was Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger's first film after he left the office of governor in California. He shot his role in 5 days, 1 week prior to beginning work on The Last Stand that came out in 2013. It is also the first time since Red Heat, 24 years earlier, that Arnold filmed outside of North America. Now, in the final scene, Arnold Schwarzenegger is wearing a vintage Hawaiian-style Planet Hollywood jam shirt under his jacket. Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and Bruce Willis are founding partners in the Planet Hollywood chain that has since gone defunct. Arnold Schwarzenegger in this film says yippee-ki-yay, a reference, obviously, to Bruce's role in Die Hard. After, he says, I'll be back when Bruce Willis steals his line. Arnold was actually considered for the role of John McClane in Die Hard along with Sylvester Stallone. Now, Mr. Travolta and Mr. Nicolas Cage were considered to work with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone in this film. Incidentally, 15 years previously, Travolta and Cage took the roles of Sean Archer and Castor Troy in Steve Smith's top 5 films of all time, Face Off from 1997, which was made and written for actually Stallone and Schwarzenegger. So, if we take a brief aside here, you have to at least admit, Travolta and Cage did a lot better job. I could not imagine Stallone and Schwarzenegger trying to replicate the other person. It would have been a fucking farce. And John Woo would have been shot immediately, which maybe he should have been, because it really doesn't get better after that. Now, in an interview with the BBC Radio over there in Britain, Sylvester Stallone confirmed that he named Jean-Claude Van Damme's character Villain to make it similar to the name of the 19th century French poet Paul Verlaine. I'm probably saying these names wrong, but you know what? Fuck it, I'm an American. That's how we're going to pronounce it. This was to set up an extremely obscure in-joke where the final showdown between Van Damme and Stallone could be seen as a fight between Villain Verlaine and Rambo Rimbaud. Arthur Rimbaud, pronounced Rambo, being another French poet with whom Verlaine had a tempestuous affair. Look, Stallone, I guess he has his moments of being smart as well. I don't know.
That's a bit of a stretch. I'm not sure I believe that.
He didn't know the audience he was saying this film to, right? Like, he's like, don't worry about it, they're going to get it. No, they're not.
We were all thinking it.
We were like, hey, projections, can you pause the film for a minute? Hey, can you believe this? These two friends. Van Damme redesigned his final fight with Stallone with the latter's approval. Van Damme was unhappy with the script of the fight, which had his character running away and only a brief confrontation between the pair. He felt that the audience wanted a longer fight scene between the two actors, which is quite impressive considering how we know who Van Damme is, and actually gets his fucking dick whipped in that final fight, which is, not normally a Van Damme standard. He's not usually the guy who loses the fucking fight. Now, Chuck Norris trained Jean-Claude Van Damme for about 1.5 years when he first arrived to the U.S. from Brussels. British action stalwart Scott Adkins. Once again, it's another one of those, I'm going to throw in a line, I'm going to walk away and not tell you why. Stated at the UK premiere that this will be his last time working with Jean-Claude Van Damme, as they have done 4 films together. I'm assuming it's a little bit more than that. Something pissed Scott Adkins off where he just made this look, I'm not going to work with him anymore. And no one, again, in the amazing media press, asked a follow-up question. They just let it go. Cocksuckers. Now, the fountain pen that Barney Ross pulls out to write on the napkin is a Montegrappa Chaos limited edition pen that Sylvester Stallone, a longtime Montegrappa aficionado, for those of you who didn't know, helped to design. It includes a skull and other symbols inspired by the original Expendables. This is one of my favorites. The T-72 tank used to assault the Expendables would have devastated the set with the resulting concussive wave if it had fired a single shot. So it was replaced in most shots with a digital version that performed the shooting. That's fucking awesome. One fake shot from the gun, the concussive blast, would have ruined the set. That's amazing. Now, while filming an action scene in Bulgaria, as I said earlier, we'd have a little tie-in. An explosion on a rubber boat killed one stuntman and left another in critical condition. So both of these films, people died. One guy fell off a fucking cliff, didn't see that. And this guy got killed in a boat explosion. This is always a good statement. Director Simon West was not allowed to complete post-production on the film, and therefore the final cut is not his. Always tells you who's running the show. The guy in the poster. And finally, this is the only Expendables film in the series not to be nominated for or win a Razzie Award. So congratulations, Expendables 2. Our hats off to you as well. Now, I saw this film in theaters because the first Expendables, you know, it was cool, but not all the big names came out. And well, I mean, there was the cameo, I think at the end, I'm trying to remember. I know Schwarzenegger made a little cameo, I think, at the end of it, and so did maybe Bruce in the first one. Like, it was towards the end, like all of a sudden they just like popped up. In this one, this is the one, and it's why it's probably the highest rated. It's got the most money. It brought all the fucking big swinging dicks from the 1980s action into one film. And look, who am I to say that I don't appreciate the fact that Stallone knew the assignment, brought all these guys in. They had this great little team up. We got to see Arnold, Bruce, and Stallone all shooting side by side. Throw in, we got, because you think you're only going to see Chuck Norris for a minute. He comes back as well in the end. And they focus on these guys. And give Jason Statham credit. Because technically, this is like him trying to pass the buck to Statham as being the next action guy, which he is. Statham even took a backseat, letting these four guys shine. And for that, I appreciate it. Like, Stallone even took time off screen to let Schwarzenegger and Willis ride together. Like, is it a great film? But is it nostalgic? Is it like this thing that we wished for as kids, that we had John McClane and Dutch and Rambo? Like, for some reason, we couldn't even imagine why they would team up, like almost an Avengers. You know what I mean? This is the Avengers before the Avengers, you cocksuckers. This is the real Avengers.
Well, to be honest with you, I love this movie. It's just, yeah, I mean, obviously, as you say, it's not a great movie.
But it has all our fucking friends in it, right?
They're all in there, and I'm a huge fan of Scott Adkins. Van Damme is a great villain in this.
Delicious villain in this.
He's great. I really like Van Damme anyway. In this, he's a great villain. Chuck Norris is terrible, but he's always been terrible.
When he talks, he's terrible.
He can't
act for anything, but he can do an action scene.
Actually, I'm not going to say he can't act. He doesn't act, really. He just
resigns.
I'm here. There's some couple of Chuck Norris movies I really like. This is just so well made. The action scenes are so well choreographed, and they're so big. Even in the first Expendables, like there's some great action in those, and the end action sequence is pretty intense. This is just goofy stuff.
This is his love letter to what he lived through. He was a part of a moment in time that will never be replicated. They will never make 1980s, and maybe they shouldn't, but they will never make action movies like they did in the 1980s. They've completely shifted differently, which is fine. Which, you do have to change things. But this is a love letter to that time and era.
Yeah, because this is a sort of farewell to that.
Because they make that thing, we should all be in museums or whatever. Like, they all know, Schwarzenegger made that the last action hero, which this network were a part of. He really wasn't. This should have been called Expendables 2, the last of the action heroes. Like, it really was like their swan song. Because it doesn't really get better after this, the sequels after this. Especially the fourth one's dog shit.
I haven't seen the fourth one. Because I could tell that this is
50 cents in it, so that's
pretty much leaving.
50 cents in it. All you needed to know.
Yeah. So the fourth one, I was like, oh, I see what's happening here. You think there's going to be Expendables movies without Sly, Bruce, and Schwarzenegger. Yeah. Forget that. See you later. Goodbye. I like the third one too. I think I like them all equally, in a sense. Almost. There's not much in it, I'll say. Because, you've got Mel Gibson, you've got...
You
Van
throw
Damme,
in Harrison Ford in the third
Ford
one.
shows up,
Which, because Bruce Willis didn't want to reprise his role as Mr. Church. That's why Harrison Ford's in. Just a little side note for everyone there.
So, you got Kelsey Grammer, for fuck's sake. I mean,
they were digging. They were going in favors at this point.
They were. But they're all such good fun. But I think the second one is the most fun.
Yes, because it has the guys. It has the guys.
Because they're all there, and they're all in on it. You know that, and like I say, it's so professional, and so the action sequences are so well done. And you know, you've got Randy Couture and Terry Crews,
Jet Li for 5 seconds.
All that. They get their moments too. It's all good fun.
Funny thing is, Liam Hemsworth may be the best actor in the film, like who does the best acting job.
Well, clearly,
you know?
yeah, probably. It's kind of like the A-Team if they actually shot the shit and fucked everyone up. So it's kind of that fantasies being brought forth, isn't it? It's like, yeah, you know, because as we always joke about the A-Team, you've just got guns going off.
And no one gets hit, In this one, everyone gets hit who's a villain. Good guys.
Well, that's why they're the good guys.
Which they should change the name to. We're not really expendable because they don't really die. No one's expendable.
Yeah, because in First Blood Part 2, Stallone actually says, I'm expendable.
Yes, I think that's probably where he gets the whole title from.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I really like this movie. And I think it's the farewell to that kind of movie.
It is.
Really. Even the third one, to some extent, does the same thing.
Because it's not great dialogue. It's very cliche.
There's some terrible dialogue in the first one,
but
too.
It is paying complete homage to a time. Stallone is making, with Simon West, he basically Simon West, we're making a 1980s style action movie. With all the new latest technology explosions we can do, the audience this is being made for does not care about what the story is. None of us, there's no stakes in it. We just want to see the cool action stuff. We just want to see the guys who we'd always hoped would ever work together, which would never been able to been afforded back in their heyday to work in the same film together. We want to see them one last time together, be badasses, firing weapons. We know they're not even going to get hit. Like, I think Stallone gets hit early in the movie, but I think it hit a vest because that stops right there.
And I also think, for those of us that love Bruce Willis...
It was nice to see him again. Being
Bruce Willis, delivering the funny lines.
Him and Schwarzenegger were great. Oh, I loved it.
Oh, absolutely. The sarcastic quips and him getting in on the action. You know, when he says, like, when Arnold Schwarzenegger says, I'll be back. And he says, look, no, you've been back already. I'll be back. And he goes and gets that little car.
Yeah. He should have finished it out.
He comes back in that little... back in that little smart car.
It's and then fun,
Stallone
rips out the door, or Schwarzenegger rips out the door, so he has to kick off the door. Like this dick contest they were having.
Of course, it's stupid. It's goofy.
It's completely implausible. But if you're a younger person who did not grow up in the 80s with us, if you did not grow up, this movie is going to be like, what the fuck am I watching? Why am I watching this shit? Which is understandable. It's not meant for you. I get that. I can understand if you're like, this is absolutely dog shit. You'd be right because you've seen it in different eyes than we have. But if you are from our era, this movie is just a beautiful buffet of our 1980s action that will never come back, but we can at least get to see these guys. Like Stallone was like, you know what? We need a good bow out. We didn't get a good bow out. We kind of got pushed out. And we had to, and we chose different things. So things were ending. But now that I'm in charge of this, I want to give us a chance to, regardless of what we do after this, to at least be in a film together, which we should all have had a chance to do, and at least be able to give our fans one last big hurrah of us just fucking killing everything that walks for no reason. There's no tactical anything. We just come barging in like it's a video game. We're just going to run into action and we're just going to shoot everything and things are going to blow up and fuck it. That's what we're going to do. And I was kind of like, thank you. We got to see these great guys who are our childhood idols.
Absolutely. And that's why I've got an affection for the free movies, really, because I see, I mean, not to go too much into the third one, but I like how, you know, you get the new younger team come in and they get their asses handed to them, and it's up to the old guys to come back and rescue them. It's like, hey, what's not to love, you know?
I love how Terry Crews has to give Schwarzenegger a bigger gun. And I knew right away we were in trouble. I was like, oh shit, that's right. I forgot. He goes, if you don't bring them back, you'll be terminated. I was like, that's right. I forgot. We're playing in this sandbox. We're going to bring back all the cliche lines.
But that's a fun sandbox, and they do it so well.
I would equate this movie to people who really enjoy, since we're in the Halloween time frame, Rocky Horror Picture Show. You enjoy the Rocky Horror Picture Show to be able to reset all the lines in it, right? Be able to yell back at the screen. This is what this is. It's like an homage. It's just basically us getting to sit there. We're going to bring back all the old sayings. We're going to have all these tongue-in-cheek moments. We're going to have all this stuff. None of it matters to the plot. We don't care. We just want you to be able to sit there and go, they're making references to all kinds of movies.
Like, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, these are very rewatchable films. I mean, I'm talking about all three personally here because I have rewatched them. You know, I did buy them because I was like, I'll rewatch these. I know I will. Some movies, you know, as a buyer of physical media, some movies I watch and I'm like, yeah, that was good, but I doubt if I'll watch it again. You know, that's the litmus test for me is I'll buy it if I'm going to watch it again. But I'm not going to watch every film I like again. These are just like top tier action movies, aren't they? you know, because now we've got John Wick and that vibe moving things in a different direction.
Yep, and probably a better direction, a more realistic kind of, way, but still with the same tropes.
Well, no, more gritty. I'll say more gritty direction. Whereas the whole gung-ho kind of like big guns, people leaping through the air, things exploding,
throwing knives
car
perfectly
chases
timed into
every
people's
2
necks
minutes.
and chests. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, we love that shit. We grew up on that shit, and this is top level versions of that. All them groovy things we saw in them old movies have never been done better than in these, and that's why they're such fun to revisit. So yeah, I think this is great fun. This movie. Because it's not really violent.
It's violent, but it's tame violent. Because I skipped out a thing, but they wanted to be PG-13. They wanted more people to be able to go see this. So some fans are upset because I think the first one's an R, and this one gets a PG-13, so they get more. So there's some blood and guts, but I think they also had to get rid of some real effects to be able to put in some fake effects, which you can see now, 12 years down the road.
But they make up for that. I think they make up for that in other ways.
Like I said, it's a nostalgia-filled, fun movie for those who are fans of 80s action. And if you're listening to this on the Last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network, then you are the people that this fucking movie was made for. It's not going to go down as one of the greatest movies you've ever seen, but it is just that slice of a time gone by that one of the people who lived it and was one of the kings of it decided that I'm going to do this. I'm bringing people back. And it made the most money. And the reason it made the most money is because we all got to go see Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren, and Chuck Norris on the same screen together with Sylvester fucking Stallone. And Stallone even knew to, like you said, pass it off, Statham, and your boy there, they get to fight on their own. We get to Adkins and Statham fight towards the end there. So we get to see what they're capable of. And then what a great, brutal final fight between Stallone and Van Damme. And for Van Damme, who is a renowned dick, a renowned douche.
Prima donna, yeah.
For him to redo the choreography, to basically have Stallone beat his fucking ass in. Don't get me wrong, he gets a couple, he's going to do a roundhouse kick. He's going to do a roundhouse kick. The only thing he didn't do was a split. I give him credit for that. He didn't do his normal split.
But he's smart enough to know. He is the villain of the piece, so he knows he's got to get his ass handed to him.
He's delicious as the villain, though, too. Delicious as the villain. Oh, he should play more fucking villains. Oh, evil. He's good.
He's evil. He's great. He's a very likable, presence. So to see him kind of reveling in this kind of evil kind of.
I should correct myself. He and Liam are the two best actors in the film. Yeah. Liam's doing a great job being the young guy who's going to die. And, spoiler. And JCVD is just like, I am the villain.
And Scott Adkins is a top tier henchman.
Oh, he's great. And Statham does his thing. He stayed in his lane. He knows who this movie's about. It's not about him. It's a fun film. It's not a great film. I just want to preface that. This is made for a certain type of action fan. If you are listening to this and you are younger, a millennial or lower, and never lived or don't appreciate 80s action, this movie is going to sail over your head. You're going to look at it as a pile of dog shit. And if I was looking at it from your eyes, I would understand why you feel that way. All right, but if you grew up, you were born at any time to become a Gen Xer, and you watched these in the 80s, this is the fucking shit you were waiting for. You could not believe they were getting these guys on screen together in an action movie, and they saved it best for last. They brought them all together at the final, at the climax, and what a fucking shootout. Look, no one even gets wounded, except in the fight. No one gets wounded in this 12 million bullet fest. Not a single good guy doesn't even get a dirty look. They fucking go through people. They go through them like fucking a hot knife through butter. However, it leads us to these two great fights, which is a stalwart of 80s action. The guys must fight their equal and opposite person who they are. So, of course, Jean-Claude's going to fight the main guy, being Stallone's character. And, of course, Atkins, who's his sidekick, is going to fight Statham, who's his sidekick, and we're going to duke it out.
There you go.
And the bad guy might lead a little bit, but don't worry, at the end, friends. Don't you worry, Jason's going to get away. So Stallone, we're going to have a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, seventh sequel, goddammit. Keep printing the money.
Yeah, gives the people what they want.
All right, my friend, I think we are going to be in agreement. But do you believe this Expendables 2 is worthy of being a sequel?
Yeah, this is. Like I said, I haven't seen the fourth one, but I think this is the best of the three. I think, though less, what's the word? Yeah, violent. I guess less violent than the first, but it makes up for it in sheer quantity of action. It's very well paced, It just snowballs as it goes along into like bigger and better action set pieces. And story-wise, it is what it is. It's just the further adventures of the Expendables.
Yes. No one can really tell you what the story's about. It's really not important.
But what's the story? I could say the same about the first. I could say the same about the first one and the third one.
It's just, hey, we're gonna bring a bunch of action guys together. They're gonna do some action shit. Fucking strap in. Get yourself popcorn. Strap in.
Just extremely entertaining fluff.
I agree. It is definitely worthy of being a sequel, and so we can just jump right to the ranking because we both say the same. This is definitely the best of the 4-movie franchise. It's a warm blanket. It is that movie that you could throw on and you get a chance to see all your favorites together on screen at once, having the time of their life in their older age. Maybe it's because we're also older, we're kind of like, we still have viability.
Well, there probably is something to that. Don't write these guys off, They've been through it.
It's an era that will never be replicated. This is a time and an era that you had big names just jump out of the screen and become household names in a second. And so, for me, this is the number one film in the franchise. Then 1, 3, and then the way down. That's how it goes.
2 is the best one. 1 is the most violent. 3's pretty cool because you got Mel Gibson. And 4 I haven't seen. So, that's why I'll go.
All right. And now it's time for us to sort through the fucking debris and decide who the winner of our Stallone sequel showdown is.
Let's go to the card.
First up, we're going to talk about best action sequences.
Best action sequences.
Mr. Smith, what wins your nomination for best action sequences?
I'm going to go with the Expendables, I think. Statham's monk guy with the knives is great. The entire third act of Expendables is one big action sequence. So, Rambo 2's no slouch, but I just think there's more going on action-wise in Expendables 2. So I'm going to go with Expendables 2.
I agree. Expendables, the only reason there's dialogue in it is because they had to slow it down. They can't just be an action movie from the opening to the end. Like you said, Rambo 2 is phenomenal with its action. But Stallone said, if we're going to do a movie with all my buddies who've done action, we're going to do all the action that we can get into this. There'll be fights, there'll be knife throws, there'll be people getting their heads blown off. We'll fire big weapons. We'll have a plane that fires a fucking cannon. Like, we'll blow up everything we possibly can. I mean, Expendable 2 is it's a fucking feast to the eye of just action. I mean, if you don't even care about this, you could literally turn the sound off and just watch the action in the background. And, I mean, it's not like you're missing out on the plot.
Yeah, it's like a silent movie, yeah.
Yeah, Expendables 2 has the choice action sequences.
Best supporting characters.
Now, best supporting characters. I feel like we might be on the same lockstep, but who do you pick as best supporting characters? I mean, it seems like it's one movie, right? Like,
it's got to be Expendables 2. I mean, as we sort of alluded earlier.
No, I think it's just Richard Crenna. That's it. I mean, this guy.
Yeah. Well, First Blood 2 is kind of a Stallone show, isn't it? It's kind of like, and as he goes on, there's no need. People just want to see me, and then he makes up for it later on with these kind of movies. So yeah, for me, I mean, you can reel the names off. Literally everyone in the cast is great.
I mean, we brought back Schwarzenegger, fucking Willis. We've got Jean-Claude Van Damme. We got Chuck Norris. We've got Jet Li. I mean, it's like a who's who. I mean, to not pick it, you're just being a contrite asshole, right? Like, you just be like, no, listen, Richard Crenna, he's a well-known actor. His acting roles conclude. So, yeah.
I'm a big Charles Napier fan. I am, but still. Come on, Martin Cove. Oh, I love Karate Kid. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Expendables 2 it is. It's hands down.
It's got to be.
When I was part of mine, I was like, if Steve doesn't pick Expendables 2, I said, this is going to be the best argument we'll ever have because I really have to see why he went with Rambo 2.
This could be the end.
This guy got to really sell this to me.
Funniest moments.
All right, now, again, I feel like the first 3 go towards one movie, the bottom 3 go to another one. That's just how I feel about it, but we'll see. Funniest moments for you. Which film had the funnier moments?
Well, no question.
Rambo 5. No, excuse me. Last Blood.
Lone Wolf McQuade, obviously. It's the Expendables.
Whether they were trying to or not.
And I think that's another thing. I think that's another thing with these movies is that the self-awareness of how ridiculous the whole thing is part of the fun. They're no holds barred. They're just We know this is ridiculous.
Especially when we get to the end and they're like throwing each other's lines at each other and just having this total like fun.
Exactly.
It's like, how can you not enjoy it? Rambo's not meant. There's nothing. I don't think I laughed once unintentionally. Like unintentionally. Like I may have chuckled that Frank Stallone did the end song. I was like, oh shit, I forgot Frank did the song.
You're not supposed to be rolling around the floor laughing your ass off at that moment. But yeah, I don't think there's no real humour to Rambo 2. I don't think that I can think of off the top of my head. Even I saw it like 2 days ago. So Expendables is filled with fun stuff. Like I say, yeah, it knows what it is. It's the self-awareness is part of the fun of it and the goofiness of the vibe.
Most original plot.
All right, now we move on to more original plot. Mr. Smith, where do you lean on for this one?
Well, I think I'm going to give it to Rambo 2. Because the Expendables is literally an episode of the A-Team, isn't it?
Yes.
We've got to rescue the women and children from the evil.
Yeah, from the evil mind.
You know,
from the French-sounding Russian mind guy. Whatever. Yeah, that guy.
You know, the whole going back to Nam to rescue POs.
We've heard it before.
We can laugh at that.
But there's a plot. Like there's like Expendables is not a plot. It's like, hey, we just need you to go do this and shoot people.
I will say, A, it's a plot, and B, it wasn't a plot. It's been done to death now, but not then.
Exactly.
So, you know, in the context of his time, it was probably a pretty decent idea.
For honest, it has more of a story. Like if someone had to sit down and tell me what is the Expendables about, you'd be like, honestly, Bruce Willis sends them to grab something that doesn't really seem to matter, and at the end of the day, they just want to shoot each other, and then they even get the stuff that they were supposed to get, but no one seems to care. Like it was never ever really in danger in the first place. It was just literally, hey, I want to get my buddies together. Planet Hollywood's no longer here, so it's a Planet Hollywood reunion. Expendables 2, Planet Hollywood reunion. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd definitely give it to First Blood 2.
Agreed. Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Best action hero.
All right, best action star.
It's got to be Rambo. I mean, Barney's part of an ensemble here, isn't he?
Exactly. And you couldn't really pick. I mean, look, the end fight's awesome. But at the end of the day, everyone's in on it. Everyone's doing the action. There's not one guy who like really stands out. Like they each get their moment.
There's no lead. There's no lead, is there?
We know Stallone's supposed to be.
But Rambo is...
It's his movie. It's the guy. He's on the poster behind you right now. He's the guy. He's holding a ridiculous weapon that's not real. But yes, he's the guy.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
I did not mean to ruin your dreams. Yes. So there's not a...
but yeah, no question. Rambo is Rambo. Come on.
Agreed. Yeah, he's just fucking Rambo.
The better movie.
All right. Last but not least, the better movie of the two films. Mr. Smith, what is your opinion on this?
Difficult, but I think Expendables 2 is the better. Ultimately, it's the more entertaining. Well, no, it's the more entertaining watch for me. And there's like we've said, there's so much going on, and I would sort of watch all three of those. First Blood to me is a masterpiece. Rambo 2 is I don't think it stood the test of time, really. It was good for its time, granted. But I just think there's so much more to be entertained by in Expendables 2. So it's it's almost 6 of one, half a dozen of the other with me here. But I just, by a hair, I think Expendables 2 is just more rewatchable, more fun, 10 times as stupid. But ultimately, that's the one I'm going to choose in this situation.
All right. You go with stupidity. I like that. I don't hate you for that. Pick with stupidity.
I'm an idiot.
I, on the other hand, actually scored this for Rambo 2, only because Expendables 2 is a movie that's aimed at us and only us, and Rambo 2 was a movie aimed at everybody at the time. Rambo 2 is that movie that really got me into action movies, like with a bunch of them all kind of came together at one time. While I enjoyed Expendables 2 for what it is a stupid fucking movie. It really is a dumb movie, but there is an actual assignment that it accomplished, and it's not trying to go down in the annals of the greatest movies of all time. And it's just trying to say, hey, I want to pay homage to a time I lived through and get to go out with my friends who were all a part of this machine that skyrocketed us to stardom in the 1980s. Where Rambo 2 is the movie that I will go back and watch again because of it's Rambo 2. I'll show people Expendables 2 because of like, oh, did you want to see all these guys from here get together? It's kind of like, it's a reunion. It was a reunion movie. And for me, I liked Rambo 2 because I just felt like it was a movie. It was trying to be something, and it started to lift the level. Like you said, Rambo, people know Rambo because of that movie, not because of First Blood. Rambo's Rambo because of this film. So for that reason, and that reason probably alone, I have chosen Rambo 2. That's the only time we split on this one. Yes. So there we go. And this will be the first time that I'm the one who did a split, who went 3 for 3 in a draw. You, sir, will have picked our winner, and fans will learn about that right now.
And the winner is... Steve scores this showdown 4-2 in favor of the Expendables 2, while Scott scores it a draw at 3-3. And the winner by split decision is the Expendables 2. That will do it for another action-packed movie showdown. Now you can join in on the debate and let us know who you had as the winner of this month's head-to-head cinematic battle by following the show on all its socials. Those links can be found in our show notes. And be sure to join us again in 2 weeks for our latest episode of Dropping a Bruise, available, just like this podcast, exclusively on the Last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network, where you can find other amazing shows dedicated to such iconic action stars as Stallone, Lundgren, Van Damme, Schwarzenegger, and Seagal. The link to the network can also be found in the show's notes. We hope you'll drop in again next month as we pit 2 apocalyptic action movie sequels against one another, as 1981's Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, squares off against 2009's Terminator Salvation for sequel supremacy. So until then, stay explosive, my friends.
This has been a Man with an Exceptional Beard production.